Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and welcome all of you back to my next The 5 list. Present to all of you here on YouTube, and this next The 5 list is going to be the first of 3 specific lists detailing the new Super Smash Bros. Game, Super Smash Bros. 5, Super Smash Bros. Switch, whatever the heck you want to call it, and 3 distinct different groups of character types I think should be in the game. Characters that either I feel are very likely, have very high possible chances, or at least in terms of the third category, at least would be cool, interesting choices. This first one, and you could probably have told either by the thumbnail when I finally change it, or, it's the name of the video, you clicked on it, you know exactly what it's going to be about, is going to be the 5 Nintendo newcomers that are very likely for Super Smash Bros. 5. The next one is going to be the 5 third-party characters that are very likely to be in Super Smash Bros. 5, and because this category of character is very hard to kind of predict and whatnot, because relevancy, recency, new games, push from companies, advertising doesn't really play a single part in their inclusion in the game. They're kind of the more crapshoot, random, off-the-wall characters to add. It's going to be the 5 retro Nintendo characters that are going to be interesting choices that would be interesting to see in Super Smash Bros. 5. But like I basically said, this list is going to be starting with the new Nintendo characters, meaning, when I distinctly say Nintendo and retro, I mean retro is like the old school characters like Mr. Game & Watch, Robin, Ice Climber, or what Pit used to be in Smash Brothers, Brawl. Well, Nintendo characters in general, like the franchises that are still used, characters that are classic and old school or new, but they're not retro, and stuff like that. So this is going to be, without further ado, without this intro going on too long, the next video on my speculation, predictions, and other series of videos for this upcoming Smash Bros. Game is going to be my first of 5 list of the 5 Nintendo newcomers that would be very likely, very possible, have a high likely chance of being in the new Super Smash Bros. And the first choice on this list, and you'll be seeing a couple of characters from my top 10 list I did like a week or so ago, so you'll probably be seeing a couple of those characters throughout these lists, is going to be going to Captain Toad. Captain Toad would be a cool character to see in Super Smash Bros. It's finally a unique, distinct version of Toad. People for years have been asking for Toad to join Mario and Luigi and Bowser and Peach on the Mario roster because he's one of the more classic characters in the series that still has yet to be included. He's been around since day one. The Toads have been around since the first, Mario Brothers game. But Toad has never been included in the games yet. And I think Captain Toad will be Toad's best chance of being in the game because we now finally have a distinct Toad, a main character Toad, a Toad that could have a unique moveset. Because, quite frankly, I think Toad never really had a chance before because it feels like he'd be a smaller, slower Mario character, like Mario Luigi type of thing, because he had a similar moveset to them in Mario Bros. 3. In the new Super Mario Bros. Games, they wouldn't really distinct besides a few different moveset changes. I don't think he really had a moveset that distinctly fit him until they finally made him a main character as Captain Toad. He showed up in Mario 3D World, and Odyssey. They made the Treasure Tracker spin-off, which was on the Wii U, and now it's coming to the Switch and the 3DS. The character, this character archetype of Toad is relevant now because there's 3 different versions of his game, potentially a sequel on the way, 2 main appearances in Mario platforming games. Like, Toad, the likelihood of Toad, getting in now is better than it's ever been because now we have a distinct version of Toad rather than generic Toad or Toadsworth or Toadette. Someone that you couldn't really distinctly pick a moveset for them unless you kind of gave them Mario moves and Peach moves and, Luigi moves and whatnot. So we finally have a distinct Toad that stands out as a main character in his own series, is heavily pushed by Nintendo, is popular, the series is popular, and it's a distinct, unique main character Toad that has a moveset, and it's popular, and that's the reason why I think it's very likely. I think the next newcomer from Mario is very likely going to be Captain Toad. I said the same thing in my top 10 list, and I'm going to say the same thing here. If we ever get Toad in Smash Brothers, expect Captain Toad because we get a unique version of him, heavily pushed, and I think we're going to see more of Captain Toad in the future, and Smash Bros. Is all know about advertising, so his likelihood in terms of relevancy, recency, push, popularity, and whatnot is pretty much there. That was my first one. My second one goes to a character from a new IP from Nintendo within recent years. We've seen Splatoon finally get in with the Inklings. We're going to probably likely see an ARMS character, and my choice is Springman, but it could be Ribbon Girl, Ninjara, it could be Min Min, it could be Twin Tail, it could be anyone. The more likely realistic choices would be either, Ribbon Girl or Springman, or they could pull an Elf Olimar and give us both of them with a very distinct mixed moveset, because they are fairly similar besides a few different little things. But why would I think it's likely? It's a new Nintendo IP that's heavily pushed by Nintendo. They put like 3-4 characters as DLC in this game. They still push this game out. They're still doing like a tournament thing, like an open thing, a demo thing for people. And it's a franchise that's new from Nintendo that's heavily pushed by them. It's a new IP. They heavily push Xenoblade. We got Shulk and Smash Bros. They heavily pushed Splatoon now, and the Inklings are probably gonna make it in this new one. This is another new IP from the new generation of Nintendo that they're heavily pushing. One of their big IPs they've so far made on the Switch within its first year, and has so many unique, distinct characters. It is pretty freaking popular still. It's heavily pushed by Nintendo, so it has its relevancy and its recency. So the likelihood of us seeing a Springman or an ARMS character is very, very likely to be one of the newcomers. It's super possible. It's not 100% guaranteed, but the likelihood of it happening now that we have Xenoblade and Splatoon and Smash Brothers, ARMS would be the next new IP for them to add, and it's kind of getting the same treatment that Inklings have gotten, that Splatoon's gotten. And you have a unique, distinct moveset. It could basically be futuristic like Lil Mac, with some, crazy, wacky antics from the game. If you played the game, all the rocket missiles, arms, and all that crazy stuff you could do. So the likelihood is very, very, very high. The third one doesn't go to a specific character, but goes to representing a specific game, because it's a game we have yet to see yet from Nintendo, but it's supposed to be released at the end of 2018, later in 2018. And that goes to a Fire Emblem Switch, Fire Emblem 16 character, because it's just bound to happen. We get a new Fire Emblem character every single Smash Brothers. Every single Smash Brothers since Melee, we've gotten at least one newcomer. They're always from one of the more relevant new games. And the only other game besides this that they can really pull from right now is Echoes. So we might still see Celica, we might still see Alm, but they might go. They're possible. I'm not saying their likelihood is not as high as a Fire Emblem Switch character, Fire Emblem 16 character, but their possibility is, like, in terms of Smash Bros. 4, Micaiah's chances. Micaiah didn't get in, so maybe Alm and Celica won't get in. I'm not saying they're not likely. They're just not as likely as the 5 on this list, and not as likely as this, because it's a new big Fire Emblem game. HD. Console, Return to Console is the first HD Fire Emblem. We still know a single freaking thing about it. In the situation, this could be like a Greninja level, a Roy level, a Lucario level of including a character for this game. Sakurai obviously works, until he loves the franchise. He's probably talking to the creators every day and learning about. He probably knows more about this new Fire Emblem game than we do, obviously, because we're just a consumer. He works in the company, and if he's trying to get a character in the game, he obviously would have to talk to him, because he knew about Greninja before the game came out, before Generation 6 came out of Pokemon. He put Lucario in at last minute. Roy was advertising for the new game that came out in 2002, and Melee came out in 2001. I think this is the next big Fire Emblem and the next big Fire Emblem newcomer. Could we still see Celica and Alm alongside this character? It's possible. We got 3 newcomers from Fire Emblem and Smash Bros. 4. We could still get 2 in this one. So Alm and Celica are still possible, just not highly as likely. This fits this list because it's very likely we're going to see a character from this game, and because it's heavily pushed. The franchise is heavily pushed. There's Warriors and Heroes on the mobile game, and all these spin-offs, and the franchise is so heavily pushed. The Return to Console's first HD Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Switch, Fire Emblem 16 is very likely to get a newcomer. Very likely to be the next Fire Emblem newcomer. Number 4 goes to a Pokemon rep. And as of now, I know I picked Fire Emblem, Switch over, Alm and Celica, but for this one, just because we don't know much about it yet, but this could be a dual choice, I'm going with Decidueye from Generation 7, Sun and Moon. It's the most popular of the starters, final evolutions in Alola in the 7th generation of Pokemon. It's a grass type, a new mixed moveset. We already have Charizard in Greninja. This could be the grass type, so it's very likely that they're going to try to finish the trio of types for the starting Pokemon. It has an interesting moveset. It's one of the most popular Pokemon, heavily pushed Pokemon. It made it into Pokken Fighters, Pokken Tournament, for when they did the Switch version. They're pushing this character, so it's very, very likely. However, there still is a chance we could see a Generation 8 Pokemon Switch character Pokemon, but just like Fire Emblem, it could be like they're going to include a Fire Emblem 16 character alongside Alm or Celica from Echoes, so they could still include Decidueye. in the Generation 8 Pokemon, so you can consider this list. I've done dual choices before, I've cheated before. This is Decidueye / Generation 8 Pokemon, because it's possible they can include either of them, because this is the most popular choice now, but that might be the popular choice at the end of the year, when they reveal the game, more likely at E3. Pokemon Generation 8, the Switch game, or whatever it is, they might pick the Pokemon from that game. It's still very possible. It could be like a Roy, Greninja, Lucario thing, a last-minute choice, an early advertisement, or what the heck else ever, or a character picked before the game even came out. Decidueye is very likely. Maybe not as likely as, say, maybe an ARMS character, possibly, or maybe the Fire Emblem 16 character. But Decidueye is probably the next more likely Pokemon, and the only rival it really has is whoever gets in Generation 8. And the fifth one. And this character is super heavily possible because we got the franchise finally represented in Smash Bros. 4, and they've had 2 games since then, one of which is one of the more popular, heavily pushed games on Nintendo Switch. Goes to Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We finally got Xenoblade Chronicles represented with Smash Bros. 4. Shulk got in. The game was heavily pushed pretty much at the time, especially because Operation Rainfall helped get that game localized outside of Japan and Europe. It finally brought it to America, and then the game was heavily pushed and made a 3DS version of that game. Right on the 3DS XL, or new 3DS, I mean. We got Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch, which means Elma still stood a chance, but then Xenoblade Chronicles 2 happened, and it's probably one of the more heavily pushed games from Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch so far, and because of how popular Shulk was and how much Sakurai pushed for Shulk, and he loves the franchise just like he loves Fire Emblem, and the likelihood of the likelihood of Shulk getting a partner, because Shulk's not going to get cut, I can guarantee you that much, and is Rex and Pyra. Rex and Pyra are pretty much one of the more likely newcomers for us to see in Smash Brothers, 5. Like, it's one of the big new IPs from Nintendo. We got Shulk in Smash Bros. 4. We're getting Inklings now. The chances of ARMS, happening is fine. And then they're going to add more to Xenoblade, because we have 2 new games now, and this is the biggest, newest one, and it's the main character with the main female character, even though I know Mithra is in there too, and you can include her in there with them, and they could do a dual moveset, triple moveset with the final smash or some special attacks or whatever. But Rex is the main character, and he's the likely one to get in. People want the other party members more, but the chances of them having over Rex is very unlikely because he's the main character, and they kind of go for stuff like that, especially in every single one of their games, like Fire Emblem and Pokemon and whatnot. So Rex is very likely, and it's a heavily pushed game from them. Interesting moves that he'd be distinctly different from Shulk, and there you go, Rex for Smash Brothers. And those are my 5 Nintendo newcomers that I feel are very likely, have very high possibilities, are almost practically confirmed for Smash Brothers 5. We have Captain Toad, which I'd say his percent chances now, regular Toad pretty much probably might have been the 50% range. I think Captain Toad's in the 80% range, about 85-90% chance. We have ARMS character, which I'd say is about a 90% chance because it's a heavily pushed franchise, about 90 to 95. A Fire Emblem Switch character, I'd say about 95 to 100% potential chance of being confirmed being a newcomer in this game. Decidueye, about 85 to 95 range. It varies on that, depending on Generation 8. And Rex, practically 100%, maybe at the high or at the lowest, maybe 95-ish, in that range. There you go. And those are the 5 Nintendo newcomers I feel have very high chances, are very likely for Super Smash Bros. 5. Put in the comment section with you guys below. What do you guys think about these characters? Do you guys agree that these characters are very likely for us to see as newcomers in the new Smash Bros. Game? And what characters do you think Nintendo-wise are very likely, have very high chances for us to see in Smash Bros? Not just an off-the-wall character that just, might have a chance, but not a high chance. The characters that you think have a high chance, at least 80%. My name is Sniper's Fun. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and stay tuned for the third-party one, because that one's going to be coming up really shortly. See you all later. Bye.